LOL, what? Hey, how about a Hunter? Look, you didn't sit down yet. You want to grab that thing? Great, thanks. I'll just preach like this. In the meantime, I love our production team. In case you don't know me, I'm Whitney Brown, and in case you don't know anything about me, I'm actually one of our production managers here at East Coast, which is pretty sick. I love this job. But that being said, I know production is like super hard, and I love them so much. But did anybody notice when Josiah was doing the 2-minute talk? Like my mic was unmuted, and I was totally riding on Jadiel. Where is he? Yeah, wait, gone? Where? Who recited this shirt without cheating? Because that's what I was saying. I don't know if you heard it through the mic, but Jadiel ran over from his group to my group to look at my shirt. Who was able to recite the shirt without looking at it? There was one guy in my group. Nice. Who else? Yeah. Anybody? Yeah. Good for you. We've been saying this for like 2 weeks. We made shirts. So, changing the world by changing the way we think. I like it. Anyways, so I wanted to quiz you, so I did. I already said my name. Say it again. I'm Whitney Brown, and honestly, I know I've already said I'm a production manager here, but I have loved how much I've gotten to be a part of here at East Coast. This is just my church, this is my home, and not just be a part of, but be a part of launching. If I'm correct, and I believe I am, 7 years ago, I was a part of the first group of the internship. Let me hear you interns again one more time. You already yelled. You yelled all night, but that's okay. You'll yell again. But yeah, when the internship started, it was literally just a small group of us, and we made funny videos and helped out in the maintenance department here at the church. And look what it's grown into. Thank you for the water. Look what it's grown into. How awesome is that? I also got to be one of the first members of Animal Face. Now y'all can yell, where are you at, Animal Face? Yes, when it became Animal Face. So back in the day, we kind of combined some ministries, and Pastor Keith took over as the worship leader, and that's when this became Animal Face, and I was like the first student member, and so I love getting to see that and see how much you guys have grown. Like, look at all this. That was incredible. Worship was awesome tonight, and now y'all are doing like live worship and kids church and all this stuff. Like, look at where this is going. It's so awesome to watch what God's doing. I'm also a part of the first group of young adults here at the church to join our apprenticeship program, which is awesome. It's a year-long program where you live in a house with other people and learn to do ministry in whatever way you want to do it. There's all kinds of different ones: pastoral, graphic design, administrative, like literally there's all kinds of options. But I've loved being a part of all this. But as much as I look back and go yes, I got to start that, sometimes starting things is fun, but can also be really painful. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but it just seems like you find out the best way to do something by finding out all the not best ways to do it first, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like that. People get hurt. It's just like Pastor Keith has been talking about in this series. We don't like change, which on one hand, it can be exciting, we're going to start an internship program so students can come and serve God on Sundays and get to know Him and get to know each other and make lifelong friends, and it's going to be awesome, yeah. On the other hand, it's okay, I have to do something, I have to try, I have to be on time, right? There's always this, it's pain. We don't like change because change brings pain, but change is required for growth, which leads us to what we're gonna do, which is, somebody say it with me, change the world by changing the way we think. Wow, that was 3 of you, but it's great. It's probably the 3 that knew the shirt without cheating, but it's fine. But yeah, as you can see, I'm sporting the shirt because it's literally just $6. That's so cheap, guys. Come on, just get it. But I feel like the past 2 weeks, as Pastor Keith has been talking on prejudice, we've talked a lot about that first part, which is how we don't like change, but I'm kind of moving on to that next point he made, which is how change brings pain. And what's that pain? Offense. Let's talk about that. But before we do, let's pray. Jesus, thanks. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I have no idea how I'm here, but I love you. And I'm excited to share. God, just speak through me and help us all to hear from you tonight. God, that's why we're here, is because we love you, because you're good. You're on the throne. I could say that forever. I love you. All right. Amen. All right. So let's talk about offense. First, I'm going to drink some water because I was worshiping like I usually do. People that knew me chuckled. Okay, so to do that, first, I think we should define offense so we're on the same page. So one definition I found for it says annoyance or resentment brought about by a perceived insult to or disregard for oneself or one's standards or principles. I want to go ahead and get into the Word of God, and honestly, like, there's so many stories I could have picked for the topic of offense because, guys, God is love, which is, for some reason, so confusing to our brains, so hard for us to grasp. So throughout all of history, there's been so many people offended at God, so many people offended at Jesus. Even when he was walking the earth and literally only doing good, people were getting offended at him. So I could have picked any of those, but I wanted to look at this parable of the prodigal son. So parable is a story, so not like something that actually happened, but a story that Jesus told to get people thinking, to get them understanding the ways and the character of God. So let's read Luke 15:11 through 32. We're going to read a lot. Hang on. To illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, the younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land, and there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into the field to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have enough food to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I'll go home to my father and say, Father, I've sinned against both heaven and you, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son, but please take me on as a hired servant. So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, Father, I've sinned against both heaven and you, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son. But his father said to the servants, quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet, and kill the calf we've been fattening. We must celebrate with the feast, for this son of mine was dead and now is returned to life. He was lost, but now he's found. So the party began. All right. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. Your brother's back, he was told, and your father has killed the fattened calf. We're celebrating because of his safe return. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, all these years I have slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to do. And in all that time, you never even gave me one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf? His father said to him, look, dear son, you've always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. we had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he is found. Jesus, this story is so radical for so many reasons. It's insane. I absolutely love this story. So I'm going to recap real quick. Basically, the younger son goes up to the dad and was like, "Hey, Dad, I wish you were dead. You mean nothing more to me than money, so why don't you just give me my money as if you were dead, and then we'll never talk again." How many of you, you could not just do that to your parents? That is not okay. But his dad loved him so much that he actually agreed to it. He gave him half the money, and the dude went away. He moved super far, distant land, it says. Probably made some crazy purchases. Probably bought a mansion, probably got into drugs and alcohol, probably started buying prostitutes and stuff. Literal craziness. Then what? Money runs out. People that will sin with you are not your real friends, period. Remember that forever. People that will sin with you are not your real friends. And this guy moved to a distant land far from everyone he ever knew and just immediately started doing some crazy things. So guess what? He had no real friends. None of his party people or prostitutes were coming to help him when his money ran out. So he got a job on a farm, but the job doesn't even pay enough for him to eat. He was literally starving, going to die. And so he decides to go back to his father's house because he knows after what he did. It was so sick, it was so wrong, he'd never be welcomed back into the family. But he just thought if he could get that job, he would at least have enough money to buy food and not die. So he decides to go back to his father's house. But his father saw him coming back and ran to him because he loved him anyways. And he welcomed him back into the family. He didn't give him a job. He welcomed him back in as a son. Even though he didn't deserve it at all. That's so radical. You can find who knows how many messages and podcasts and books on that part of the story because it illustrates so well how God loves us, even when we mess up and run from him. When God did nothing to deserve it, but we still went away from him anyways. That story illustrates it really well, but I haven't really heard personally any messages or books or anything on the next part of the story, which is what I actually want us to focus on. So we're going to read it again, back at verse 25, and we're going to dissect it, okay? So here we go. So meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. Pause. Older son, okay, has known the father longer, probably smarter, okay? And he's in the fields working, probably doing something the father wanted him to do. All right, let's continue. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. "Your brother's back," he was told, "and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safe return." The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, "All these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to." Pause, okay. How, everyone, listen at this moment, everyone participate. How many people in this room, not now, and not when you were even a toddler and don't even remember, how many of you never once in your whole life has ever refused to do a single thing your parents have asked you to do? Really shocking silence there. So I think we can assume one thing. Liar! Anyways. So, continue. "And in all that time, you never even gave me one young goat for a feast with my friends." Pause. Okay, I'll explain this whole goat and calf thing because it's kind of weird. Basically, they are literally just talking about food. So the younger son comes home and the father kills a cow, okay? That means they're having a party, like the whole neighborhood is coming over because that's what a cow could feed. But if you got a goat, you're gonna have a really small party because a goat is not that big. It can't feed that many people. You understand? So basically, the son's complaining like, you never let me do anything. I never get to have parties. Continue. Yet when the son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf. Pause. This son of yours, y'all might not realize how awful this is, but that's really bad. That shows right there how much this guy hated his brother. He wouldn't even call him his brother. He goes to Dad, this son of yours. Remember last week what Pastor Keith said? He said, rename everyone as brother or sister and care for them that way. But this guy didn't even love his own literal blood brother. And it's starting to seem like he doesn't even love the dad. He made very clear right here that he did not agree with the dad's decision to go ahead and split the inheritance, and he definitely did not agree with throwing him like a welcome back to the family party now. Let's continue. Oh, wait, that's the end of it. Wait, no, it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. Let's just go back to verse 25. So, meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. Your brother's back, he was told, and your father has killed the fattened calf. We're celebrating because of his safe return. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, all these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to. And in all that time, you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf. His father said to him, look, dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found. I think it's safe to say the older brother was offended. I don't want to be offended. I don't want to live offended. Do you? Because look at what the older brother missed out on. His younger brother was about to die, okay? Yes, his younger brother was being stupid before and left the family, but now he's back. He's back and he's alive and he's a part of the family. And the older brother missed out on it all because he allowed himself to become offended. So how do we keep ourselves from becoming offended? Well, the Bible actually says that it's impossible that offenses won't come. Things are going to happen in life, and people are going to do things that are going to hurt you if you let them. When I was writing this message, I realized there are three kinds of offense, and I think if we can learn to kind of identify them, we'll be a little better equipped to deal with them. So if you're taking notes, this would be a good time. I'm about to give you three types of offense. But first, I'm sorry, computer person, I want to go back to the definition for offense. So that was annoyance or resentment brought about by a perceived insult to or disregard for oneself or one's standards or principles. The first type of offense I want to talk about is perceived, okay? This is the kind of offense where it's like, let me see. Oh, like, he just came in the room and, like, he didn't even look at me. Like, I mean, he glanced over me, but then he just sat down at his desk and actually participated during class. And, like, I don't understand that. Like, friends talk to friends, you know what I'm saying? I'm offended. You understand what I'm getting at here? Like, that is not an actual reason to be hurt. Like, you could have talked to them. You're the other side of the friendship. Also, you don't know why they didn't talk to you. Like, that's not a real reason to be offended. In a perceived offense, no actual harm is done to you. So perceived offenses come when you don't know the person very well and when you are not intentional about getting rid of them. You know what it takes to get rid of a perceived offense? Just giving the benefit of the doubt. Also, if that still is unsettling to you, then you can just go to them and be like, hey, I just want you to know I love you. It seems like, something's going on here. Maybe you're mad or I don't really understand, but I want you to know that, like, I'm here for you. Is anything going wrong? Is everything okay? That's all it takes. So the second type of offense is unintentional. In other words, an accident. So a perceived offense was like nothing actually real. Like you got offended that somebody yawned, okay? That's a perceived offense. But in an unintentional offense, something actually did happen. Somebody got up in your car with Chick-fil-A and they just ate like a horse or something and somehow like stomped fries into like your carpet. There's barbecue sauce on your seatbelt and like Chick-fil-A fingers like somehow everywhere else, and you're like, why did you even touch that part of my car? That kind of stuff. Like, so something actually happened. In an unintentional offense, they did something to hurt you. But when you go to them and say like, hey, you left a mess in my car. I don't know if you know this, but my car is actually pretty important to me because I know how much cars cost, so I'm trying to make this one last as much as possible. If it's an unintentional offense, they'll usually come back with something like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, my family always trashes the car. I honestly didn't even know I did that. Unintentional offense. It's an accident. But the third type of offense is intentional. So your brother farted in your face and you punch him in the throat. Both intentional offenses. But on the real, maybe someone started a rumor about you in school because, who knows why. But they started a rumor about you. Intentional offense. Romans 12:18 says, do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. How do we keep ourselves from becoming offended? We're going to change the world by changing the way we think, AKA, check your perspective. So, was it just a perceived offense? If so, let it go. It was all in your head, all right? Check your perspective. If it was an unintentional offense, then it was an accident. Forgive them. Life will be so much easier for you, all of you, if you learn to forgive quickly, okay? But check your perspective. Was it an intentional offense? If so, I'm really sorry. Like, if it was really somebody actually did something to hurt you, then I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that, and it's not okay what they did, but what you need to get past this, your offense, and the wall you're building in your heart is to forgive them. And don't just shut me out immediately, because forgiving does not make what they did okay. And forgiving is not confronting them either. You never have to tell somebody you forgave them, but what you have to do is release them from the jail you have them in your heart. You got to go, these charges, these offenses that I hold against you, I don't anymore. Check your perspective, because you don't know what they're going through. I've heard this said many times, and at this point it almost sounds cheesy to me because I've heard it so many times, but it's hurt people. And what that's saying is people that have been hurt tend to go and hurt other people to try to make themselves feel better. So you don't know why someone hurt you. Anyways, check your perspective. So we're going to change the world by changing the way we think. Pastor Keith actually got that phrase from Romans 12:2, which says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Romans 12 later goes on to say, bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, I will take revenge, I will pay them back, says the Lord. Instead, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. I love that. It all challenges me, like blessing those who persecute. You know, it's basically saying like we can't fight fire with fire. If we want to make a difference, we have to love the people that hurt us. Never pay back evil for evil or take revenge. Honestly, that one, I learned very quick to not be sad about that, because if revenge is God's job, like let it be God's job. God is going to get back way better revenge than I could. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to stay in my lane and do my job, which is taking care of my enemies. So, and then, I mean, that last verse, it just sums it all up so well. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. I love that. So let's have a real talk right now. I don't know if you knew this, but you are Generation Z, okay? Gen Z, that's your age group that you're in. But it's starting to get some nicknames. Some older people out there are calling you the entitled generation, and literally the offendable generation. Why? Well, let's do a quick self-eval, okay? Self-evaluation. Do you complain more than you give thanks? Is your first reaction to give someone the benefit of the doubt, or to assume the worst about them? Are you always the victim? When someone else achieves something great, are you happy for them, or jealous that it's not you? Everyone, every age, gets offended. We're all guilty, but some old people are calling you the offended generation because it is so prevalent. What? Is that a word? Relevant and prevalent combined. You're welcome. What does I say? Prevalent. It's so relevant in this generation. Woo! All right. But anyways, everyone gets offended, but it's just really relevant to you guys right now. But I don't believe that it has to be that way. I don't think this needs to be the offended generation. And I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy when I say this, but if everyone in this room would understand the truth about who you are, before long, this would not be the offended generation. Because those of you that know, you know when the truth sets you free, you're free indeed. Like, you're excited about this, and you have to tell somebody because you're free. Knowing God of the universe, like when I finally grasped that God is real, and God created the universe, and He created me, and He loves me, freeing. And you have to tell everyone because it changes your life. So if every person in this room fully understood who you are, it would not take long for this to no longer be the offended generation. It'd be the truth generation or something. All right. You know what blows me away about the story of the prodigal son? Not even just how the father welcomes back in the younger son, even though he ruined his life and disowned the father and did not deserve any of that at all. How the father just welcomed him back, that is nuts, as I've already said. But what I also love about this is what the father says to the older, offended brother. His father said to him, "Look, dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he is found." When we're out here living in jealousy and comparison and offense, you're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. The Father still loves you. He says, look, dear daughter, dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. When you're living in offense, God doesn't hate you and God doesn't forget about you, but you are probably missing out on something awesome that he's doing. But instead of living in offense, we're going to change the way we think. And by that, change the world. So I love you guys so much. This has been TNT. Let's play some loud music and get out of here.